Hello all you movie lovers, this is your friendly Seafaring Simian Tugs. And I want to come and talk to you about a little something that's been generating a lot of controversy. And no, it's not about a film that features a clown, but it's in fact related to some guy you may have heard of called Martin Scorsese. And if you haven't heard of him, well, that's just really sad. The thing is that Martin Scorsese has come out and has been quoted as saying, regarding these little things called Marvel movies, he's saying, I don't see them. I tried, but that's not cinema. Honestly, the closest thing I could think of, as well as made as they are, with actors doing the best they can under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being. And this has obviously got a lot of people upset, including but not limited to Joss Whedon, James Gunn, and Samuel L. Jackson. And I believe Samuel L. Jackson says something really passive-aggressive like, well, not everybody likes your movies either, Marty. And that's a hell of a thing for you to say, Samuel L. Jackson, because you made your bones starring in, making a little appearance in one of his movies called Goodfellas. You played Stack Sandwoods. Sure, you got your head blown off by Joe Pesci. You're still bitter about that, I understand. But the thing is that I see that regarding Samuel L. Jackson is probably just because he is a good, obedient company man to Marvel. He's saying something along those lines, and he gets paid really well to say what he had to say about it. Now, I understand a lot of fans of the Marvel movies are looking at Martin Scorsese like, who the fuck is this guy talking about my Iron Man and my Spider-Man like that? Something you all need to keep in mind are the following things. Guys like Martin Scorsese come from a school of film where stories unfolded at 24 frames a second examine the human condition of our place in this world, and sometimes even beyond. He's a big fan of films like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a great film, but I'm constantly told by all of you that it's the most boring film ever made. And not only does he examine the human condition and sometimes our place in this world and even beyond it, but he examines it while we are still living, breathing, carbon-based life forms. Somebody like Martin Scorsese understands that films are escapism, and escapism has always been a part of cinema. Not just in popcorn movies or in the big tentpole action films, but also in films that tap into the consciousness of the times, or even think ahead of what's about to come or point out the cyclical nature of humanity. Scorsese's films in and of themselves often deal with lost souls living in horrible realities. Another thing to keep in mind about Marvel is that the Marvel Studios company is owned by Disney, which every single day it's becoming more and more ubiquitous. Okay? It's reminding me of this company called Ventura Enterprises. Only the thing is, Ventura Enterprises is a fantasy. Disney's the real deal. 2 years ago, we used to have something called the Big Six. And the Big Six obviously refers to all the companies that control all the media you and I consume. 40 years ago, it was over 50 companies. And then just 2 years ago, now 6. Today, it's 5. Who knows what it's gonna be tomorrow? 4? The latest acquisition was made by Disney, and it was of 20th Century Fox. Now, obviously, everybody got excited because that means the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, if that's even still a thing anymore, I don't even know and I don't care. Or something like Deadpool. They're all gonna be sharing the same universe with Spider-Man. Something you want to keep in mind is that now, with this company becoming more and more ubiquitous, that creates fewer and fewer avenues for moviegoers to go see content that they want to see. Everything that's on the screens nowadays is becoming more and more of the same. Something that Marvel has done brilliantly, which is why I believe Martin Scorsese says this is not cinema, is that with some exceptions, most of the Marvel movies follow the same formula. The hero is introduced, their plight is introduced, they go through some hardships, but they come through and they save the day. And depending on the gender or the skin color, you can't show them flawed whatsoever, because that is the neoliberal, late-stage capitalist understanding of the plight of people who are otherwise disenfranchised over something they have no control over. And that is often reflected with who they hire to tell these stories. The thing is, for every Taika Waititi, Anna Bolden, and Ryan Coogler, the overwhelming majority of Marvel movies are helmed by white men. And these white men can stick to a production plan that not only continues discrimination behind the scenes, but also they can pat themselves in the back whenever they have some multi-million-dollar hero shot of all the women and all the people of color doing impossibly awesome things without so much as ruining their makeup, let alone getting seriously injured. And the thing is, with these Disney movies, they want to make sure their films are safe, familiar, and nostalgic. That's exactly what they cater to, and nothing else. Marvel, and by extension Disney, does not want to challenge you. And despite the consumers not knowing what they want, I mean, sometimes I don't even know what I want. They more or less know what they don't want. And Disney is going to be very careful, and by extension Marvel, not to push consumers outside of their comfort zones. And at the end of the day, every single Marvel movie, save for a few exceptions, but every single Marvel movie contains an advertisement for the next movie. Because they gotta keep you coming back. And before you say, oh, you know, it's a series, they gotta keep it going. We gotta see what happens next, because it's all part of a big narrative. The thing is that this is what cinema's come to. We expect scenes for different movies to show up after the credits. You know, after you read the list of all the visual effects artists, which reads like a memorial for a war, you expect something that advertises the next film. And the thing is, when it comes to these Marvel movies, they're all basically kind of the same, with some exceptions. You expect the explosions, you expect the fights, you expect the visual effects, you expect the quippy one-liners that you forget about in 12 hours. And one thing you can guarantee, especially if you have families, is that it's not just the movies you're gonna see, but you gotta get all the action figures for your kids. Your kid wants your Iron Man pajamas, you gotta get it. Your kid wants Spider-Man Legos, you gotta get it. Your kid wants beach towels with Captain Marvel on them, you gotta get it. Because Marvel movies are less about the films themselves and more about the merchandising, the marketing, and the promotion for the next film. You think Endgame was gonna be the last film? The only thing about the word end that we all found out was that it was a fucking lie. There're gonna be more of them afterwards. Now, say you had an emotional connection with some of the characters in these movies. I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that. It was a little sad when Robert Downey Jr. said that he ended his contract and he wasn't gonna do any more Marvel movies. Same with Chris Evans, because I happen to like the two of them. But the thing is that I can only identify with these characters to an extent. Because look at Robert Downey Jr.'s character as Iron Man. He was a billionaire warmonger turned superhero, but the thing is he never had to worry about his money. Captain America. Was a dorky little guy, but then grew up to become like a super buff dude thanks to chemicals. He looks awesome when he does his actions, but I can't identify with that. Now, when I go and see something like Taxi Driver, I identify a little bit with the main character because he's certainly human. Not to mention, he's someone who I probably have run into every now and then. And that's kind of what makes it so tragic and so frightening. So that's where I believe Scorsese's coming from whenever he says Marvel is not movies. Or not cinema. They are movies, absolutely, but they're more so movie product. But in terms of really touching the soul, in terms of really causing you to think more critically about the world that we live in, perhaps take a look at yourself in the mirror the next day and say, why am I here? Who am I? You're not going to get that with the Marvel movies. You're going to come out of there thinking that it was pretty good or thought it was amazing. And you're going to look forward to the next one. So I don't understand why anybody is complaining about what Scorsese said. And to those who don't know who Scorsese said, read a fucking film history book! Also, try watching some of his movies on one of your infinite streaming services, please. You really owe it to yourself to go watch one of his films. And go watch one of the films that the guy champions. You know, one of my favorite filmmakers is Akira Kurosawa. Kurosawa, he's a guy who's made films in Japan. So already, some of you are probably turned off by the idea of seeing a film from Japan. Not to mention, some of them are in black and white. But I'll tell you something. Without Akira Kurosawa, there would not be an Avengers. Case in point, Seven Samurai. Now that is cinema. Think about it.